Oh. Good morning. You got that? Thank you. I figured it would be a little low this morning. A lot of people traveling.
No, thank you. My kids don't
Yeah,
even
perfect.
like
Thank you. Yeah.
What is wrong with them? What is wrong with my kids? You don't
Well,
like anything.
I think you need to look no further than
Are you talking about the
their dad. Their dad. I love mayonnaise. I can eat. Listen, I grew up in a house where you took plain yellow bag Lay's potato chips and dipped them in mayonnaise as a dip. Oh no, that's heaven. No. Or dill relish. Hi, I'm glad you're here. Dill relish is delicious too. You should try it. Plain Lay's potato chips and use it like a dip. It's so good. It's so good. Not sweet relish. That's nasty stuff. Why did it even exist? I'm like, I think half of all trash heaps in the world are half-empty bottles of sweet relish.
I like it's really good when you make sweet relish or sweet pickles and dill pickles together, like in potato salad.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that's true. I do occasionally like a good salad that uses a sweet relish. That's like bread and butter pickles, man. Not my thing.
My grandma
Really?
made the best bread and butter pickles.
Now homemade is a different thing. Homemade, I might be with you. It's about homemade pickle time anyway. If anybody ever feels like they have too many homemade pickles, you are welcome to bring them to me. I love pickles. It's like in my top 5 food. I like anything pickled. I finally realized I don't love like super sweet, but if they're homemade, I kind of like even the sweet. You guys know chow chow? Has anybody heard it? No chow chow? Oh man, I love chow chow. It's hard to find.
Unless somebody
You can buy it at the you can buy it next to Home Depot. No, Office Depot. Is that Office Depot? Staples. There's an antique store next door. It has they have hot chow chow there. It's pretty good. $6.99. Kirkwood Market. Oh yeah, and all right, let's get started. I was getting chow-chowed up. I know, I haven't eaten either. I'm hungry. It's Memorial. It's a beautiful Memorial weekend. Missouri's staying faithful to the way it treats us on Memorial weekend. Well, it stayed cool. Maybe we'll have a really pretty 4th of July this year. I think we might. We're kind of headed that way. I'm trying. A nice, cool, sunny summer.
Where are you going?
I'm not going anywhere.
Like Montana.
That'd be nice. I'm going nowhere. We're going to North Carolina on family vacation. That's it.
Came from North Carolina.
Really? It's still there? Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
What's up with North Carolina? I was just there last weekend. Oh, good. Hey, Chloe. See, sneaking in. So did the husband stay home?
All right, here we go. John 10. Which comes after what?
John 9.
Man, see, they think Bible class doesn't make any difference, but you guys have gotten so much smarter.
She's a great teacher.
Yeah. Very truly, I tell you, Pharisees, anyone who does not enter the sheep pen by the gate, but climbs in by some other way, is a thief and a robber. The one who enters by the gate is the shepherd of the sheep. The gatekeeper opens the gate for him, and the sheep listen to his voice. He calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. When he has brought out all his own, he goes on ahead of them, and his sheep follow him because they know his voice. But they will never follow a stranger. In fact, they will run away from him because they do not recognize a stranger's voice. Jesus used this figure of speech, but the Pharisees did not understand what he was telling them. Therefore, Jesus said again, "Truly, truly, I tell you, I am the gate for the sheep. All who have come before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep have not listened to them. I am the gate. Whoever enters through me will be saved. They will come in and go out and find pasture. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. The hired hand's not the shepherd and does not own the sheep. So when he sees the wolf coming, he abandons the sheep and he runs away. Then the wolf attacks the flock and scatters it. The man runs away because he is a hired hand and he cares nothing for the sheep. I am the good shepherd. I know my sheep and my sheep know me, just as the Father knows me and I know the Father, and I lay down my life for the sheep. I have other sheep that are not of the sheep pen. I must bring them in also. They too will listen to my voice, and there shall be one flock and one shepherd. The reason my Father loves me is that I lay down my life only to take it up again. No one takes it from me, but I lay it down of my own accord. I have authority to lay it down and authority to pick it up again. This command I received from my Father. The Jews who heard these words were again divided. Many of them said, "He is demon-possessed and raving mad. Why listen to him?" But others said, "These are not the sayings of a man possessed by a demon. Can a demon open the eyes of the blind?" Let's pray together. We listen for your voice this morning, Father. And we hear it in your Son, the one who is faithful to you. And all week long, as other things and other people try to shepherd us, we want to follow only your voice. And so as we come together, we gather together as the flock. We just ask that you, in this time together here in class, in our worship, in our singing, in our communion, that you help us better recognize your voice. It's through your Spirit, Son, we pray. Amen. All right, questions, thoughts, concerns. But before we get going too far, oh, my phone's up there. Who has a calendar on their phone I can look at real quick? We're going to take a little break. I know, I'm sad about it, but we just need to. Thank you. Here's what's happening is June 15th is Father's Day, okay, and we're going to do our Show Off the Wheels event again, which our dads loved last year, and we're going to serve a little breakfast this time with it. So that's going to be at 9 o'clock before church, so of course we won't have Bible class. Then the next week is the 22nd, and I am gone. Right, Tammy? Tammy organized a day off for me. Isn't she the best? I am gone. I'm actually helping my brother in Phoenix move that weekend. So I fly out the morning of the 21st and come back the evening of the 23rd.
This is June?
Yeah. He just called me last night. He has 2 trucks and 2 storage containers lined up for us.
That's a working trip.
Yeah. That's my kind of vacations, you know. Then I thought, since July 4th is kind of those next, all right, I'm just going to tell you how it is. So then June 29th, June and July 6th, that's that 4th of July week, and our attendance tends to be, and then I'm gone the 13th. Okay, but I think this is okay, because I'll be honest with you, a little break would be nice for me. So what we're going to do is from the 15th, we will have off until July 20th.
Okay.
And man, isn't that going to be late? But really, that almost feels like we can start ramping up for kind of like getting back into the role for fall anyway, okay? So please, I'll send that out in the emails, but also your other classmates that are here. And actually, in where we're at, I think we'll be okay, because the sermons should still cover well the text. Like, I don't think we're going to miss too much. We'll be back in it by the time we get into some of the deeper level discourse stuff that I want to make sure we have Bible class for. So, go ahead. Oh, that's a good question. I'll figure that out and send it out. I'll send it out in the email. Yeah, where we pick back up. I'll make sure, actually Bob Moore asked us to put in the bulletin every week that weekly email what week we're on in the John study. So we're going to start doing that anyway. It's a good idea. Yeah. I think it's good for me. It's a good reminder for me. I know what text we're in every week, but I don't always know what number of the week we're in. All right, questions, thoughts, concerns. Jesus as Good Shepherd. I just want to make sure that we hear this text. It's important to hear this text, with this passage, within the larger scheme of the whole narrative that's going on here. This is probably still all part of a narrative that scrolls back all the way into 7, right? This is kind of like an extended dialogue and teaching in and around the temple. You with me? So also, remember he says in verse 10, verse 1, very truly I say to you, who? Pharisees. Okay. But we've just had, remember, we have, I think this is good, we have Pharisees who are like against Jesus, opposed to Jesus, but also we seem to have Pharisees who are with Jesus, are disciples. To those Pharisees who were disciples of Jesus, it says that somewhere, right? Or did I just make that up? No, I don't think I did.
My version doesn't say Pharisees.
The Jews were again divided.
Yours doesn't say Pharisees?
No.
In 10:1?
Two different ones. And the other one says, I'm telling you the truth, anyone who does not.
Did I make a note in my notes on this?
I don't remember you saying that. So is it actually in the text?
No, it's not. No, it's not. So the NIV is trying to push you, this is what the NIV is doing, is trying to push you back to being reminded who he's talking to. Okay? They're trying to give a solution for the same problem that I'm talking about right now, which is that we break 9 into a different discussion than 10. This is our obsession with the 7 I am statements in John, right? The part of what I don't like about that kind of study is you separate these I am statements from the broader conversation that's happening in John. With me? So in 8, you remember 8 is all about the man who's healed blind, and it's this question of who has what? Sinned, right? Like who sinned? And Jesus is flipping the whole thing on its head. Everybody with me? And then at the end of it, in verse 35 of chapter 9, Jesus heard that they had thrown him out. Okay, so the teachers of the law, the Pharisees, who don't believe in Jesus, have thrown the man out, remember? And Jesus goes in, does what? Before he asked them, though, the language, verse 35, 8:35. Jesus heard that they had thrown him out, and he what?
He said, do you believe in the Son of
Yeah,
Man?
but before that, he does what? They found him. They found him. Here's why that's important. What language is that? Found him. Found him. Found him.
He went out for
Sheep!
Oh, sheep.
Right? Are you with me? Okay, we have no lost coin teaching. Remember Matthew, Mark, and Luke, the synoptics, all have the lost. What do you do with the lost coin? You go and find it. But also the culmination of those 3 stories, it's a triplet in Jesus' teaching in Matthew and Luke. I don't remember if it's in Mark. Probably is. Anyway, the culmination of that is the sheep, right? That's the fullness of that story. Which of you, if you have 100 sheep and one of them gets lost, you won't go out and what? Go find, right? That's the narrative. Okay, so Jesus goes and finds the one who has been what? Lost. Good. The one that's been kicked out, right? And asks them this question, do you believe in the Son of Man? Who is he, sir? Tell me that I might live. You have now seen him. In fact, he is the one doing what? Speaking with you. Voice. He's speaking with you. I think, Barb, when you made the note last week about the man would have known Jesus' voice, I think that's good. I think that pulls in this dialogue, doesn't it, into this next sheep section here, right, that we're going to get. Then the man said, Lord, I believe, and he worshiped him. And Jesus said, for judgment I've come into this world so that the blind will see and those who see will become blind. Who's he talking about? The Pharisees, right? And some Pharisees who were with him heard him say this. Okay, so maybe these are antagonistic Pharisees, maybe, I don't know. Maybe they're people like Nicodemus, who's trying to figure out who Jesus is and following him. And they ask, what are we blind to? And Jesus said, if you were blind, you would not be guilty of sin. But now that you claim you can see, your guilt remains. Truly, truly, I say to you. There's no break in the dialogue. That's why the NIV has given you Pharisees back, because they don't want you to break up the dialogue. Right? Now that you claim you can see, your guilt remains. Truly, truly, I tell you, anyone who does not enter the sheep pen by the gate. It just sounds so different, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. It gives it like this contextual purpose and meaning. Because what's really his critique? What's Jesus' real critique in this text?
To me, it seems like the Pharisees have their own ideas, and
That's
they
right.
won't listen.
That's right. Can the Pharisees lead you to the Father's pasture? That's what he's trying to teach here. Who is the one who found fullness in God in this narrative?
The man born blind.
The man born blind. And how did he find that?
He actually heard him and did what he said.
Yeah, he believed.
Yeah.
He believed and he worshiped him, right? He believed, right? So the gate is, Jesus is the gate, right? Like this, all that language then kind of like pops open, right? With me? You guys all have a look on your face like I have no clue what that dude's talking about today. But they're going to cook me some brats later. There's going to be a cooler, a baseball game. Cardinals going for 3 in a row. Maybe, if they don't get rained out. All right.
Something I found interesting is that what you said about how the sheep were kept, that all the sheep would be brought and put into one place.
Yes.
And then the shepherds would come and call their own sheep.
Yeah.
Growing up, I had horses.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And so, the horses would be way out in
Yeah.
far field.
Yeah.
All I had to do was whistle.
Yeah.
And I could get them to come.
Yeah.
So when he said this, that those that know him,
Yep.
come.
They come.
I remember just, standing up at the house whistling as they started walking
Yeah.
to the barn. And you could hear them thundering in the back, running to come.
Kim's dad, I might use this in the sermon. I haven't really decided what the sermon's going to be this morning yet. It was a crazy week. It was just absolute crazy week. But Kim's dad loves to tell the story about they had horses when Kim was young, like probably Finley's age. Definitely Finley's age. And the horses would only come to Kim. So she would go out and crawl up on the fence and then call out in a 3-year-old sweet girl. If you know anything about my wife and animals, she loves animals way more than she's ever loved me. She'll tell you that. She adores everything. Like she just can't. And she would stand and call, and the horses would come into her. It's that same imagery. I'm going to unpack this in the sermon, but in the ancient world, so you would have to keep from. We think of that, okay. So like calling them in from pasture, but in the ancient world, I put it in your notes, but it's important. The imagery here, I think, is everyone would bring their sheep. Maybe only like 5, maybe 10, 12, but not big flocks. Not these giant flocks that I think we think of. Like small family flock of sheep, right? And they would all bring them into the same pen. Okay, and it was big. It would have been dependent on the city, but a lot of them were made from like decent clay bricks. Okay, and they were well secured. Okay, and you had a gatekeeper, a person that everyone pitched in to pay, that was in charge all night long of the gate being open or not. And how did he know? Did they have a security card? How did he know? He knew them. I think this is the context that we lose in all of this. I think I'm going to preach on this too. The gatekeeper knows the shepherd. The shepherd knows the sheep, right? The sheep know the shepherd. Do you get this? This is all about knowing. It's not about doing it right. It's about knowing God. Okay? And so they would come in the mornings, early in the mornings, and the gatekeeper would allow the shepherd, he'd open the gate, that shepherd would call his sheep. And guess what would happen? Only his sheep would come out. Of the whole flock, only his sheep would be drawn out from his voice. Okay, you can imagine them in there kind of pushing and prodding their sheep. Right? Pushing and prodding and kind of like, let's go, come on, a little pat on the behind of a sheep, right? And then they would all go out, and you can have this vision of them all going out together. And I just like, my plan this week, I don't want to keep preaching. If I say all the same stuff in the sermon, we'll be fine. My plan this week was that Kim and I were going to go, the kids had no baseball games or softball games Thursday, Friday, Saturday, okay? So our plan was that we were going to go down to the farm, and I was actually going to record reading this text out in our hay fields, because at this point they haven't mowed yet, and the hay is like, it'll be like right at my chin height probably. But I didn't get to do that. The weather wasn't great. But really, I didn't get to do that because I spent a lot of time downtown trying to help and trying to like represent our church, serving and taking care of. And but the whole time I'm meditating on this passage of Jesus. Jesus is the shepherd here. Like in the rubble and ruin, both from a tornado, but also from a culture of rubble and ruin. Right? It's okay for us to say that, I think, because they've been listening to the wrong shepherd. Right? But the shepherd, let me finish. The shepherd can walk, so I kept having this vision of the shepherd walking through those areas and calling out his people. And his people know his voice. They follow in along them, and he rescues them and redeems them. But there are many there when he comes through calling that what? Don't know his voice. And then I would drive back here and I would drop off whoever went with me to the church. And I realized, well, I can have that same metaphor in this neighborhood right here. Right? Because this is as much spiritual ruin as there is spiritual ruin downtown. I can call out in many of those houses. Nobody's going to come out of because nobody lives in them. Or at least I don't think so. I never see anybody in them. Around them. Are you with me? That's maybe one of the 3 or 4 homes they own or something. I don't know. But there are those who will recognize his voice and those who won't. What is beeping? You guys hear that?
I do.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. We're good. We've had alarm problems this week. Okay. That was my sermon. It might be. I don't think so. I think we had an alarm issue this week. Oh, is it? Okay. You're good.
Okay, so we were reading through these chapters of John, and I found an interesting contrast. At one point, Jesus is talking about who he is and where he's from and who he's from.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
The Pharisees call him out and say, wait a minute, we need 2 witnesses.
Yeah, good.
And then the blind man, okay, suddenly he can see.
Yep.
Who do they call? Well, they not only have people
It's so
on the
good.
street who knew him,
Yeah.
but they have his parents.
Yep.
But they still don't believe him.
No.
I mean, it's like, do you guys not realize the contrast?
I think it's Raymond Brown in his commentary that pulls that out like big time. It's
Yeah.
man, it's good.
Yeah, we
It's
want
good,
2 or
right?
3 witnesses. You have them.
There they are. You still don't believe. You still don't believe, right? Because you don't know the shepherd's voice,
Yeah.
right? Because you don't recognize who he is. You don't recognize God when God comes among you.
Yeah.
And then this ending of this statement where he's like, I have other sheep I'm going to call, right? There are people who know God, know God's voice outside of the Jewish people.
C.S. Lewis addressed that.
Yeah.
Chronicles of Narnia.
Yeah.
The last book, when the kids were taken to Narnia, and they come across a guy who had been the enemy,
That's right. Yeah.
and he's there
Yeah.
because he had faithfully followed who he thought was
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
But God still accepted him. I mean,
Yeah.
C.S. Lewis dealt with that same idea.
Yeah, and this is like Pauline theology, right? Romans 1, and I think this is, I don't want to get too far down that track because I want to see some other. All right, I'm going to keep shifting. Any other questions? Good, astute point. Good John scholarship. I'm proud of you. That is good John scholarship. Other questions, concerns, thoughts about this text? Yeah, Tom.
Listener Bogie mentioned that. So I think we can infer that the wolves
Mm-hmm.
are the Pharisees. And you think about this, is that one thing about the enemy, that you think the wolf knows the sheep. The sheep don't recognize, they're going to run away from the wolf, but the wolf knows the sheep. Knows their weaknesses,
Yep.
knows when to attack, when the timing's right. And I'm thinking about the Pharisees, and of course the wolf's, what's agenda? What's his intent? It's for
Consumption.
Consumption, right. The Pharisees, and I've thought about this over the years, it's like, how can someone be so learned in the scriptures and study the scriptures and be so blind?
Yeah.
And I think it really comes down to the heart.
Yeah.
What's really their true motivator,
Yep.
motivating factor, self-glory or
Yeah.
God's glory. You know?
And the difference is the distinguishing factor, I mean, I'm going to preach on this too, but is that the shepherd will lay down his life for the sheep.
Right.
Right? The ones you follow, are they willing to give over their life for yours?
I just remember there was back in the days when North American Christian Convention was, very, very popular.
Yeah.
Attended, Bible Bowl was a huge.
Yeah.
And there was
I was never very good at it.
Kid, Bible Bowler,
Yeah.
who, I think he's from Southport, Indiana, back in the mid to late 70s. And if Indiana, maybe you know what I'm talking about. I don't know his name. But he virtually single-handedly won the National Bible Bowl.
Wow.
And shortly after that, left the church,
Yeah.
left Christianity.
Knew everything about God, but didn't know God.
I'd like to know where he is today, but that's always stuck with me. Wow.
Yeah.
Just knowing the scriptures isn't enough.
That's right. You search the scriptures, thinking in them you might find life. Right? But I have come. This motif I have up here some, but I think we can kind of like click on some. I think it's good for us. We're so saturated with it sometime, is to forget that like a shepherd's not highly regarded in the ancient world, right? Okay, but this is a core metaphor, a core vision. I don't know, because like, does God use a shepherd to describe himself, or did God out of his nature create a shepherd? I think it's the latter. Are you with me? The difference between the two, right? Like, I don't know. Here's why. You could say that the work of Adam in the garden in Genesis 2 is shepherding, right? Okay, that's not a result of a broken, fallen moral agent, right? Like, it's the goodness of shepherding. Okay, so you would get, so who do we have for shepherds? Let's start with that. Who do we have that shepherds? We're going to look at some of these passages because I don't think you know them, but I mean, we don't. We just need to hear them again. But like in Genesis, who do we see as shepherds? Abraham. Yeah, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. Right? All those early fathers are what? They're shepherds. One of the things that's happening in our early memory, I'd say ours, in the Hebrews' early memory, is the process of domestication. I bet Barb studied. Have you studied on any of this early? This is pretty fascinating stuff. So we know kind of globally, even in North America, independent of what's happening in the Middle East, around the same time, you have the first kind of wave of domestication, with the exception of dogs. We know that dogs seem to have been domesticated much earlier, okay? But like you start in multiple cultures around the world at the same time, start seeing, instead of being exclusively hunter-gatherers, you get civilizations that are starting to be built upon the ability to cultivate crops and to domesticate animals, okay? And you, like right here, well, I mean, the largest civilization in North America is, I was going to say a stone's throw, but that would be a big throw. Is 60 miles from right here, right? What am I talking about? Yeah, Cahokia Mounds. Like, I can't remember the estimates are 30 or 40,000 people, something like that in that community. It might be higher than that. Somebody can look it up. Somebody Google it for me. Okay, but that community is happening like right about the same time we're reading of what we're reading of Israelite history. Okay, I'm talking roughly here. Okay, I'm not talking like to the month or something. And so this shepherd motif is important because the shepherds are the people who are like developing, right? They're no longer just living in and off the land. They're no longer raping and pillaging the land. They're no longer living in a culture that allows for humans to treat one another simply as other beasts. Okay, this helps us a lot once we get into the genocide questions of them taking over the tribes, the nations. Are you with me? Everybody with me? No, a little bit. Okay, but like, so our early figures in biblical history are all these people who are shepherds. They're part of the domestication and the caretaking of the world. Are you with me? Okay. What kind of things does a shepherd do?
They protect.
Yeah, they protect. Good. What else?
They have to heal them. Ensure the flock has food.
Yeah. Sheep are kind of notoriously stupid. I haven't been around them a lot, but like they
Margaret should be here.
yeah. Yes. Yes, that's right.
I had a sheep growing up, they are stupid.
Pretty much everybody will tell you that, right? Like they really need like lead to water. They need lead out to pasture. They need, right? Like a cow will find all those things. And if you put a fence in the area the cow can't go to, what's the cow going to do eventually? Tear down the fence and go into the, right? But you know, sheep will just follow. They'll just follow everywhere. So you lead them. You lead them into water. You lead them into grazing, right? Like all of these kind of things. But also, what are sheep? Sheep provide such a livelihood too, right? They they ate sheep some, but not really for eating. Okay, you would have all your cheeses and all your like a mainstay for food, right? And all your wool for clothing. Okay, understand all these things? Okay, good. All right, so that's kind of the connotation. And then Exodus, we so Genesis, we see all these patriarchs, and they're all shepherds. And as God calls his great leader of Israel, and he's going to give birth to Israel, remember this language we've talked about a ton? And he calls who? Moses. Moses is what? Shepherding. At that time, he's a shepherd, right? Okay. There's some that contend that part of the storytelling of Moses is he has got to make his way into a shepherd role for God to call him. Are you with me? So like he's got to be of the shepherding line. All right. And then we get the great shepherd, the first shepherd king of Israel, David. You guys remember the stories of David? This is the anointing of David. Let's just turn over there. We got 11 minutes, 12 minutes, something like that. I really want to make sure we spend some time in. But this text was good when I was 1 Samuel 16. The Lord said to Samuel, "How long will you mourn for Saul, since I have rejected him as king over Israel?" Anybody watching the David? Did anybody watch the? I'm through like episode 3, but I'm stuck. I haven't just had time to watch it anymore. Since I have rejected him as king over, fill your horn with oil and be on your way. Man, it's such good. I love this story. I'm gonna start saying that to my kids. Fill your horn with oil and be on your way. I'm totally doing that. I am sending you to Jesse of Bethlehem. I have chosen one of his sons to be king. Out of where? Bethlehem, the sheep town. But Samuel said, "How can I go? If Saul hears about me, he will kill me." The Lord said, take a heifer with you and say, I have come to sacrifice to the Lord. Invite Jesse to the sacrifice, and I will show you what to do. You are to anoint for me the one I indicate. Samuel did what the Lord said. When he arrived at Bethlehem, the elders of the town trembled when they met him. They asked, do you come in peace? Samuel replied, yes, in peace. I have come to sacrifice to the Lord. Consecrate yourselves and come to the sacrifice with me. Then he consecrated Jesse and his sons and invited them to sacrifice. And when they arrived, Samuel saw Eliab and thought, surely the Lord's anointed stands here before the Lord. But the Lord said to Samuel, do not consider his appearance or his height. I love this passage so much. For I have rejected him. The Lord does not look at the things people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. Man, Scripture's so good. This is the voice of God, by the way. This is why you read it, is you learn what Jesus' voice sounds like, what God's voice sounds like. Then Jesse called Abinadab and had him pass in front of Samuel, but Samuel said, the Lord has not chosen him either. Jesse then had Shammah pass by, but Samuel said, nor has the Lord chosen him. Jesse had 7 of his sons pass before Samuel, of course 7. But Samuel said to them, the Lord has not chosen these. So he asked Jesse, are these all the sons you have? They're still the youngest, Jesse answered. He is tending the sheep. And Samuel said, send for him. We will not sit down till he arrives. So he sent for him and had him brought in. He was glowing with health and had a fine appearance and handsome features. Isn't that a neat, aside? Then the Lord said, rise and anoint him. This is the one. So Samuel took the horn of oil and anointed him in the presence of his brothers. And from that day on, the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon David. Samuel then went to Ramah. So what was he out doing? There's still the youngest answer. Jesse answered, he is doing what? He's tending the sheep. And if you're listening to the voice of God and you've read Genesis and you've read Exodus and you hear he's tending the sheep, you think to yourself, oh, here it is. This is the one, right? And then you get, this is the passage where he's talking to King Saul about protecting. But let's go to Micah. Micah. So you start to build in the prophetic texts. Micah's a hard one to scroll through and get. I got it. You start to get, so the shepherd king of Israel, right? This becomes a motif, as God's king is a shepherd. All right, and you start to get, as the people have lost their homes, they've lost their lives, right? That they've lost their place of power. The prophetic voices are now speaking to them on how to reclaim these, the promise of the reclamation of these things. And you start to get this language, like in 5:1 of Micah, marshal your troops now, city of troops, for a siege is laid against us. They will strike Israel's ruler on the cheek with a rod. But you, who? Bethlehem Ephrathah, though you are small among the clans of Judah, out of you will come for me one who will be ruler over Israel. Now, what's the connotation here? Whose origins are from of old, from ancient times. Therefore, Israel will be abandoned until the time when she who is in labor bears a son, and the rest of his brothers return to join the Israelites. He will stand and shepherd his flock. Of course he will. Where's he from? Bethlehem. That's where the king shepherd comes from. He will shepherd his flock in the strength of the Lord, in the majesty of the name of the Lord his God, and they will live securely, for then his greatness will reach to the ends of the earth. All right. Then let's hit, do we have time for Zechariah? I really want us to get to Ezekiel. So let's go to Ezekiel.
No, I didn't either. That's crazy. We're sitting there where
What?
Jesus was born in Bethlehem. We didn't know it was a sheep town.
Sheep Town.
I learned something.
Good. You learned 10 is after 9.
But this passage in Micah is referring to David, right? Or Jesus?
Yes.
Both of them. Is it both of them?
Yes. This is how prophecy works. Right? Prophecy is multiple. It's this poetry. It's beautiful. It's how Paul can talk about the the love of a husband and a wife is the same of the love of Jesus in the church. Is he talking about Jesus in the church, or is he talking about a husband and a wife? Yes. Right? Is this passage about David? Yes, it's about David, this handsome, wonderful, small shepherd from a small town, the youngest of the brothers, right? And he's the hope of Israel. Oh, but he's not the fullness of that hope. But out of Bethlehem will come one whose origins are from old. Wait, what? How can a new voice come that is from old? In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with, right? Like, God is doing something new. No, He's not. He's doing something old. Right? Yeah, He's doing something new. He's doing something old. And in Ezekiel 34, I love this passage. Take some time this week and read through it. It's just such a long passage, but I love it. The word of the Lord came to me. I love Ezekiel, period. It's my favorite of the prophets. Son of man, prophesy. Oh, wait, what? No, before that. Son of man, prophesy against the shepherds of Israel. Woo, here we go. Prophesy and say to them, this is what the sovereign Lord says. Man, just so you guys know, I'm giving you reprieve. Because when I remember the last time I preached this text, and I went 43 minutes. I think it was like 42:50 something. Okay? I'm giving you reprieve. I'll be like, I don't know, maybe 18 today. Prophesy and say to them, this is what the sovereign Lord says. Woe to you, shepherds of Israel, who only take care of yourselves. Should not shepherds take care of the flock? You eat the curds, clothe yourself with the wool, and slaughter the choice animals, but you do not take care of the flock. You have not strengthened the weak, or healed the sick, or bound up the injured. You have not brought back the strays, or searched for the lost. You have ruled them harshly and brutally. So they were scattered because there was no shepherd. And when they were scattered, they became food for all the wild animals. My sheep wander over all the mountains and on every high hill. They were scattered over the whole earth, and no one searched or looked for them. What's his accusation? Yeah, but they're scattered, right? Because they're in exile. They're everywhere. And he's saying, you people who think you're the shepherds of Israel, you're not even looking for them. You don't even care. Therefore, you shepherds, hear the word of the Lord. As surely as I live, declares the sovereign Lord, because my flock lacks a shepherd, and so has been plundered and has become food for all the wild animals, and because my shepherds did not search for my flock, but cared for themselves rather than for my flock. Therefore, you shepherds, hear the word of the Lord. This is what the sovereign Lord says. I am against the shepherds, and I will hold them accountable for my flock. I will remove them from tending the flock so that the shepherds can no longer feed themselves. I will rescue my flock from their mouths, and it will no longer be food for them. This is coming true. This is coming true with Jesus and the Pharisees. The culmination of it. It's happening. This is what the sovereign Lord says. I love this so much. I myself will search for my sheep and look after them. As a shepherd looks after his scattered flock when he is with them, so I will look after my sheep. I will rescue them from all the places where they were scattered on a day of clouds and darkness. I will bring them out from the nations. I will gather them from the countries, and I will bring them into their own land. I will pasture them on the mountains of Israel, in the ravines, and in all the settlements in the land. I will tend them in a good pasture, and the mountain heights of Israel will be their grazing land. There they will lie down in good grazing land, and there they will feed in a rich pasture on the mountains of Israel. I myself will tend my sheep and have them lie down, declares the sovereign Lord. I will search for the lost and bring back the strays. I will bind up the injured and strengthen the weak. But the sleek and the strong I will destroy. I will shepherd the flock with justice. Man, I like him so much.
That reaches right into the millennial kingdom.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, this is it. Jesus is the culmination of this text, right? Jesus is, this is the final vision of us all together as one flock, right? on the mountainside, but it's also our calling as shepherds over Israel. Our calling is not to take care of ourselves, look after ourselves. It's to what? Bind up the injured, bring back the stray. I love the oneness of it. It's not, right? It's not call for revival of thousands of the people, and it's what? Go find the one. Search for the lost. Bring back the stray. Bind up the injured. Don't discard those who have been hurt and abused for some better call or better calling. Care for the one right in front of you. Heal the one blind man. Okay. Let's go, church.
Says Cahokia Mountains between 10 and 20,000.
10 and 20,000.
Greater Cahokia, which included East St. Louis, it could have been 40 to 50.
Yeah.
So that's where that.
Greater Cahokia. Yeah, just the mounds itself were like. You should go see it. It's incredible. You don't have, it's like 1,000 years or something before the next city of that size even appears in North America. What?